Okay, first step is we're going to cook the rice. So this is what rice I use. It is not sushi rice. It is a medium grain Japanese rice. It does cook up nice and sticky like sushi rice, so it works. Whatever, you can use what you have. If you want to use brown rice, use brown rice. If you only have long grain rice, that'll work too. You know, just make sure you season it, and that'll make it get a little bit more sticky. But basically, I'm gonna cook it. I have a pressure cooker. I don't have an Instant Pot. I have this one from TV. I got it at Walmart, and it works just the same. But I'm gonna cook it on for 4 minutes, and when it beeps, I will let it sit for 10 minutes before I release the pressure. And I'm gonna cook, I think, 2 cups of rice. So it's 2 cups of rice to 2 cups of water. And I usually rinse my rice really good first until the water runs clear, and that gets rid of a lot of starches, especially with this rice because it is so sticky that you kind of don't want to skip that step because it has a tendency to get gummy, I find. I did it the first time I made it. I did it without rinsing the rice, and it just got really gummy. So now I rinse it, and it gets sticky without being too gummy. Okay, so I got my rice in there. It's going to do its thing, and when it beeps, like I said, we're going to let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I'll release the pressure, and then I will season it up when it gets done. Okay, so the things that you're going to need for your sushi are, I use low sodium soy sauce. You can use tamari, you can use regular soy sauce, whatever you have on hand. I use low sodium. I'm not gluten-free, so this works for me. This is kelp granules. I got these at Whole Foods. I haven't seen these at my regular grocery store. I'm sure you can probably get them online, but I know Whole Foods has them because that's where I got mine. This is young green jackfruit. You need to make sure it's young green because they do have jackfruit that's packaged in like a sugar syrup, and you don't want that one. So this one is actually packed in a brine, and this is the one that you want. I also use a little bit, this is nori furikake, and I was using that instead of the kelp granules before because I wasn't able to find the kelp granules, but we have a lot of Asian markets here. We have like 99 Ranch and H Mart and stuff like that, and I was able to find this there, and this was a good substitute. I still actually do use a little bit of this, and it's basically just, if I can open it up, it's basically just a mixture of like seaweed and like sesame seeds, black sesame seeds and white sesame seeds, and so that works too. I actually used both when I made this, and it came out really well. Also ginger. You can find this readily available in pretty much every grocery store too. Oh, the jackfruit, they don't have this at my regular grocery store, but I got this one. I went to, we have a Hispanic, like a Mexican grocery store here called Fiesta. I'm in Texas, and they have like a really, the one that I go to has a really nice like Asian and Indian section where they have like a lot of Indian spices and a lot of like Asian stuff that you won't find like in your regular grocery store, and they do actually carry the jackfruit, and so that's where I got mine the other day. Now I do starch solution, so starch solution, you're not supposed to use any kind of added fats, any kind of added oils, especially if you're trying to lose weight like I am. This is sesame oil. If you're not doing starch solution, you're just like strictly vegan or whatever, you can add a little bit of this. Honestly, I do add a little bit of this, but I literally add like 1/8 of a teaspoon. And that's just enough to give it the little bit of flavor that I want, and it really does make a big difference in the flavor profile. But if you don't want to use it, like I said, if you're strict starch solution, you can just leave it out. And for our rice, because my rice just dinged a minute ago, so now I'm waiting, we're going to use rice vinegar, and this is readily available in any grocery store as well. We're going to use rice vinegar and sugar, and I will show you how to prep that in just a few minutes, but we're going to go ahead and get started on our jackfruit, and I will show you how I prep that. Okay, so this is what the jackfruit looks like when it comes out of the can. There's like a little core piece right here, and sometimes, let's see if there's one in this piece. Oh, there's these big seeds like this. Some people throw away the core and the seeds. We're gonna run this through the food processor to get it like into smaller pieces, so it's kind of more like crab. So basically what I do is I smash these, and I'll show you how I do it really quick, because we're just going to throw them in the processor anyway. They will squeeze out into like smaller pieces, if you can see, you know. So I mean, we use that. I'm cheap. I like to use all of it. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to shred it just like this, and you're going to go through and you're going to do the whole can. You're just going to shred it up into smaller pieces. You want them to look like this. If you get like a core piece, because sometimes these can be kind of hard to squeeze out, what I do is I'll put them on my cutting board, and I'll get like, this is my knife, and I will just smash it, and then it smashes up into smaller pieces, and you're able to break that up. But yeah, so just go ahead and, oops, that happens. I don't even know where that went. I'll look for it later. Again, when you get a hard piece, just take it, put it on your cutting board, give it a good whack, and then you can break it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do this whole can. I won't make you watch me because it takes a few minutes, and I will come back when we are done. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I got my jackfruit like all shredded up. So I also rinsed it, and if you notice when you were shredding it up, there's a lot of moisture in here. So what we're gonna do is, before we pop it into the food processor, we're gonna squeeze out some of that moisture. So I just take like a little handful like this, and I just squeeze it over a bowl. And you're gonna see there's quite a bit of moisture that comes out of it, because it's really, really wet. And I'm just gonna throw that in there. And then I just keep doing that until I got all the moisture out. Okay, but just make sure you get all that water out. Squeeze it all out. Get everything. Get all your little pieces. Okay. Okay, fish out the pieces from the bottom. And as you can see, we got quite a bit of water out of there. It's probably a good third of a cup. So do not skip this step, because it will make your sushi like all soggy and gross. Okay, so get this out of the way. What we're going to do now is I am going to pop the top onto my food processor, and we're going to pulse this like a few times. Alright, I'm going to dump this into a dry bowl. This out. All right, now we're going to start to add our ingredients. Okay, so first things first, where'd my ginger go? I need a little bit of ginger. Just FYI, I never measure anything. I'm gonna cut the back end of this off. So I'm not real sure like what measurements are, but I'm gonna use this piece of ginger, probably this whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and we can cut that piece off. So this is probably gonna make like a tablespoon and a half or so. Golly. You had a bad spot on you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mince this up pretty fine. Normally I would get out my rasp and just grate it, but I'm going to go ahead and chop it, because I like to chop stuff. It's very cathartic for me. I like to chop veggies. That's kind of why I like to do all my meal prep stuff. I'll just sit there and chop veggies and for a couple of hours doing food prep. Okay, this looks pretty good. Just mince it up. Just mince it up pretty fine. That's pretty good. We're gonna pop that in there. It's probably about a tablespoon-ish. Okay, so rest of the ingredients. I have my nori furikake. So we're gonna add probably about a tablespoon of that. And I just, like I said, I just eyeball it. I have my kelp granules. Probably gonna add about a tablespoon of those as well. Let's see. I have some soy sauce. I'm probably gonna add about maybe a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half. It's kind of to taste. And I forgot the most important ingredient. Totally forgot that we're making spicy crab, so I need my sriracha. And I put like quite a bit of sriracha. I like it really spicy, so I probably use about 3 tablespoons. At this point, if you want, you can also add like a few if you don't want it super spicy and you're not on starch solution and you're still eating fats, you can use like a couple tablespoons, maybe like 2 or 3 tablespoons of like vegan mayonnaise to help bind it. But all this sriracha is going to kind of help bind it together a little bit so it's not falling apart so much. Now, I told y'all I do use a little bit of sesame oil, but I literally just use like that much. And that's going to give it a lot of flavor. So I just mix this up. I get it. Everything incorporated. You know, my dogs are going to start to bark. We live across the street from, they actually built it across the street from us. They used to be people that live across the street, but they built a storage parking lot for 18-wheelers. So all day long, 18-wheelers are pulling in, cars are pulling in and out. It's all day long. And my dogs just sit in the window and they bark at them all day long. And usually when they get on my nerves, I'll kick them outside, but it's been raining all day today, so they can't go outside. So my little dog is barking in the living room. I can hear her. But basically you want something that looks like this. Taste it. Make sure it's spicy enough. That's pretty damn spicy. Make sure it's got enough soy sauce. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to let this marinate in the fridge while I do my rice, because my rice is probably going to take a good 20 to 30 minutes to cool off because it just dinged a second ago, and I'll release the pressure. And I'm going to go ahead and show y'all how to do the rice. But just go ahead, put some plastic wrap on this, stick it in your fridge while you wait for your rice to cool down, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to wrap. Okay, so now we're going to season our rice. As you can see, it came out. It's nice and fluffy. It's a little bit sticky. It's all done. I turned it out into a bowl because what we're going to do is we're going to season it and we're going to let it cool down. There's a fly. To this bowl right here, I've added about 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar. You remember from earlier, our rice vinegar. About a teaspoon of salt. I use Himalayan pink salt. That's why my stuff is pink. And about a tablespoon, like kind of a heaping tablespoon of sugar. I just use regular table sugar. And you want to mix that up, kind of get it to dissolve mostly. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour that over our rice mixture. Okay. So, and basically what this is going to do is it's going, and you're going to fluff it up and turn it. And this is going to do a couple things. It's going to incorporate all that seasoning into your rice, but you also want your rice to cool down. Now, I usually sit at my kitchen table and do this because I have a fan above my kitchen table, and I kind of turn it on full blast, and it dries my rice down really fast. So, so it only takes maybe about 10 minutes to get it all cooled down. Or if I'm doing other things, I will just go and set the bowl on the table and let it sit for and every few minutes I just go and toss it around. But basically what you want is you want your rice to be cool to the touch. don't want it to be necessarily cold, but you don't want it to be hot. So you kind of want it to get down to about room temperature. So that's probably going to take a good 10-15 minutes. So when it's finished, in the meantime, you do have your stuff marinating, and the longer that your jackfruit marinates, the better it's going to taste. And actually, it's going to really taste good tomorrow. Like, I usually make this batch will probably make 4 to 5 rolls, depending on how much filling I use and how big I make them. So normally I have enough left over for tomorrow. And the stuff that sits overnight tastes like, oh my gosh, so much better than eating it straight after I made it. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let this rice cool down, and when I'm done, I will come back and I'll show you how I wrap. And I will just warn you now, I am not the world's best sushi roller. That's usually my husband's job, but he has been in the hospital and just got out on Monday, and he is sleeping right now and taking a nap, and I am not going to go wake him up to make him roll sushi because he had surgery. So I will be back in about 15 minutes. Okay, so this is the sushi papers that I'm going to be using, the wraps, the nori wraps. I think I got these at the grocery store. They were like $3. If you go in like the ethnic food section, they'll sometimes have them. I bought these the other day. Same thing. I got these at a different grocery store, but you want to look for sushi nori. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know where I got these at. May have gotten these at Whole Foods. But yeah, so I do have a bamboo mat. If you don't have one, there are ways that you can wrap them just using plastic wrap. There's YouTube videos on that. I wrap my mat with saran wrap just because when stuff gets down in between these little sticks, it's kind of a pain in the ass to clean it out, especially if stuff gets mashed into there. So I wrap it in plastic wrap. Then at the end, all I gotta do is just take it off and throw it away. I don't have to worry about trying to clean my mat. So basically, oh, it's a good thing I got both of them. I only have one left in this one. I'm going to get my my nori paper out, and if you look at it, there's like a smooth, shiny side, and then there's like a rough, like dull side. You want the smooth, shiny side down, face down. This is gonna be the outside of your roll because it's the pretty side. So I'm gonna put that down, and I did not get a bowl of water. You want to have a bowl of like warm water handy to dip your fingers in because the rice is like super sticky. And I don't use a lot of rice. I get about a half a cup, and make sure your fingers are wet really well, and just start spreading it around. If it starts sticking to your fingers, wet your fingers a little bit more. I just spread it like to the edges. Put my glasses back on so I can see. And I just kind of get it. You want to go to the edge, like any places where there's thick, I kind of run my fingers backwards like this to kind of push it out and up. But you want to make sure you get to the ends. You want to make sure you have some at the bottom. You may need to add a little bit more here or there, but you want to get it so that you kind of have a nice even coverage. And like I said, you can make it as thin or as thick as you want. If you like a lot of rice, go for it. You know, use a whole cup of rice. I try to stick with about a half a cup per roll, and I usually eat 2 rolls at a time unless I'm just really super hungry, and then sometimes I'll eat 3. But you know, that puts me at eating like a cup to a cup and a half of rice at a time, and that's usually pretty filling for me. So you want to get it all nice and even. Oh, we didn't do the most important thing. I forgot to cut up my cucumbers. Oh, let me grab a cucumber really quick. Well, all right, I'll just do this. I'm gonna set this off to the side and cut up my cucumber because I forgot. So I have a half a cucumber. I used the other half the other day, yesterday in a salad. So I'm gonna cut the end off. I do not like the skin on my cucumbers, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that off really quick. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the skin off. And you can use any kind of cucumber. You can use English cucumbers. You can use those little Persian cucumbers. You can use whatever you want. This is just a plain old regular cucumber you find in any old grocery store. So I take my knife, I half it and then quarter it, and then what you want to do is you want to get the seeds out. So we're gonna do that really quick and put those to the side, because you don't want the seeds. I mean, if you like the seeds, I guess you can leave them, but aesthetically speaking, they usually de-seed cucumber when they put it in the sushi. So I just take it out. I have like kind of an issue with indigestion in cucumbers, and I find if I take the seeds out, it's less of an issue. So then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut this into like 1/8 of an inch, just pieces like this. And like this will last me a couple of days. Like I said, this is enough cucumber for today's lunch and for tomorrow's lunch. So I just cut it all up and then put it in a container on the side. Okay, so now I got my cucumber. All right. Well, I'm gonna get my sushi roll back. Okay, so now what I do is I take my jackfruit mixture and I just put a little bit on the end like this. Okay, and get it all mounded up. I put a couple pieces of cucumber on each side, and it's okay if it sticks out of the end. So like that. Okay, and then this is the moment of truth. So you want to take it, you want to, as you're lifting this with your thumbs, you kind of want to press this at the same time and try to keep it tight and try to make that first roll kind of tight. Okay, and don't worry if you don't get everything in. You want to keep the cucumber in, but if you don't get all the jackfruit in, that's not that big of a deal. And then you're going to roll it over again, and you know, the whole time press down on it, and that's going to keep your roll nice and tight. Okay, and you want to do another roll like this, and you want to go all the way to the end, pressing down, giving it a little pressure each and every time. So when you get to the end and you have your roll, now you want to shape it. So you want to get your bamboo mat and just lay it across the top and just shape it. Just press down on it, give it a little pressure, and that's going to seal it, but it's also going to give you that nice sushi roll shape. So it's going to be, so at mine, I like to do mine where they're flat on the bottom and round on the top, because that makes them sit on the plate and they don't roll around. So there you go. Now if you want to do, we'll do an inside out roll. Normally I would clean all this off. I don't have a rag. But if you want to do an inside out roll, you can get another sushi. So we're going to lay out another sheet of nori, and I'm going to add another. Remember, you want the shiny side down, you want the rough, dull side facing up. So we're going to wet our hands. We're going to spread all this out just like we did before. You want to get it all nice and spread out. Making sure all your rice is nice and even. Make sure it goes out to the edge. You kind of want to have, if you're going to do the inside out roll, you kind of want this way to look, you want the side to look kind of a little bit nicer than the inside of your last roll. And I don't even really know if I'm doing this right, because like I said, my resident chef has been laid up for the last week in the hospital, and he just got home the other day, and I'm not going to make him get out of bed to come and roll my sushi. So I kind of just wing it. Okay, for some reason there's a hole right there. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this over, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that little 1 inch, that's the area we're gonna work at. So again, I'm gonna lay down my jackfruit. I'm gonna lay down some jackfruit, however much you want, however thick you want it. some more cucumber, and you can add other veggies to this. You can like steam some carrot, you can do avocado, you can do there's like special like Japanese radishes that you can use. There's all kinds of stuff. You can do mushrooms, you can use squash, you can whatever you want. I just do cucumber. I'm kind of basic. So okay, so what we're gonna do, same thing, you're gonna lift your mat up with your thumbs and you're gonna use your fingers to kind of push that in, and you're going to basically just roll like we did before. Just roll it all the way to the end, pressing as you go. Okay, when you get to the end, again, you want to take your mat and you want to do a little bit of shaping. Okay, and that is that roll. It's probably going to stick to my board. Yep, it sure is. Okay, but not too bad. So now what we're going to do, where did this come from? It must have slipped out. Whoops. So now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to slice them up. So you want to make sure you wet your knife. I use hot water. Get you a nice little bit of water on there. And now we're going to cut our sushi. So I usually cut it in eighths. The other day, I cut it in like, I cut it in 6 pieces and they were like way too big. I couldn't fit them in my mouth. But I cut them in 8 pieces. Okay. You can start the microwave if you want. Okay. Okay, so. All right, so now, how do you finish it off? So this is what our regular bowl looks like, and this is what our inside out bowl looks like. So now what do we do to finish it off? Well, I like to do a few things. So I get this stuff. We go to 99 Ranch and I get this stuff. I'm not even gonna try to say it. I have no idea what it is, but it's basically sesame seeds, a little bit of chili flake, and a little bit of like what do you call it, seaweed. And it's just, it's kind of like Szechuan. It's not Szechuan, it's just really freaking hot. So I sprinkle a little bit on that because this is a spicy roll after all. I do sprinkle a little bit of my nori furikake on here, just a smidge, just to make it kind of interesting because it's got sesame seeds in it. I think it looks pretty. I like eel sauce, but eel sauce is not vegan. So what I started doing on my rolls was I drizzle a little bit of hoisin sauce, and that kind of gives it that same sweetness, but hoisin is vegetarian. It's just made with like soybeans and stuff, so it's not super, it's not gonna be like an animal product. And there you go. That is my spicy crab sushi. So enjoy. And the rest, like I said, the rest you can refrigerate it and it lasts until the next day. I'll take my rice, I pop it in the microwave for like 30 seconds just to take the chill off of it, and it works just fine. So y'all enjoy and let me know what you think.